Welcome back to day 13 of our chess journey to 2000 ELO and chess.com. Had a late night last night. I worked until, quite late, and for some reason I just couldn't fall asleep and lay there for 3 hours, so I'm a bit tired today, but hopefully it's not all that bad. Let's just jump ahead into our game and see if we can redeem what happened yesterday. We're playing Pedro Wolf from France. We'll have a Sicilian. And this is not something I'm particularly familiar with, but probably it's not bad for us at all, because this seems a bit passive from our opponent. Let's just come out with the knight, I guess. Develop some stuff. I think we could push this now. This is not a move now, though, because of this control. How about coming up with the knight, and this isn't a move because of this. I think we can develop the bishop here. Do we want to come onto this diagonal? It seems like a pretty decent diagonal, I think, because it's opening up here. Our opponent is playing a Portland attack. Apparently that's what it's called from this point on. I didn't see the name change there. Now this is a move, I guess. So let's say we come up here and this is played. And I think that's probably slightly annoying. So how about coming up here first to kind of kill off this idea, while also giving ourselves this square for the knight. And also defending this pawn, I guess, as currently it's undefended. Also, this is an idea, so I think it's a good multi-purpose move in general. I'm a bit unfamiliar here with the theory, I would have to say, but I think this has to be a decent move in this position, just following our previous plan. This might be a move now, but it's not played. We could come up with the queen, I think, just to keep our stuff connected and defended here, along this diagonal, which just opened up. I think we'll go ahead and do it in effect, actually, because I don't want to castle, because then there might be some ideas here, some lines of just breaking apart our stuff, which might not be all that fun. I see we transposed into a closed Sicilian defense fianchetto variation. On which move? On this move. So we're no longer in the Portland variation or whatnot. Our opponent castles. I think now we can do the same without having to worry about a massive attack. I'm looking at bishop to g4 here as well, just pinning the knight, but I think we'll delay that idea, just get to safety first and see what we do first from this position. This is what I'm looking at, but now it's prevented by our opponent. This pawn a bit weak. We could come here, and honestly, there I would expect the king to come up to this square to defend this. So let's say this is played, followed by this. I don't think we can just brutalize the king there, I don't think. However, we might force this there. I don't see a concrete way of getting any decent advantage. This. We could go here, targeting this. Let's say this is played. First of all, this is a likely continuation. Then we might have this. Or no, that's not a check at that point, because the king is moved. So never mind. I want to make this work, but I don't want to force it per se, if it's not the correct idea. Just going to quickly spend a bit more time here, because if this works, then I think it might be good for us. This, and I think we might be able to break apart some stuff here, and the king gets weak. If we go here and this is played, we push the pawn. Well, if this is played, then I think we just take, right? And I'm pretty sure we just win a pawn. This and this, what happens if takes? We can take with the knight. We can get our pieces into the game. This pawn here looks weak. We have some pressure in several directions. Yeah, I think we'll be going for this, in fact. It seems to be a decent idea, as long as I didn't miss anything concrete. Honestly, I didn't consider this move here, though. Is this an option? It seems to really weaken the king, though. At this point, you have those pawns here in front of the king. And I don't think that's a lot in terms of protection. I definitely do not think so. And if this is played, no, we can't go there because I think our knight would be trapped. But I guess if it's played, we could drop back. Most likely we don't go here, I don't think, because we would just lose the piece. I don't think we get sufficient compensation. So our opponent here is thinking a bit. I'm liking our prospects here in terms of generating pressure towards the king here, but we'll have to be a bit accurate, I think, to get what we would like. So obviously we want the bishop to come out. We haven't really set up any way of developing the bishop this way, and either way I don't think going here or here does a whole lot, because the pawn chain kind of prevents us from doing all that much. If we come out with the bishop, we can connect our rooks. That's an idea. We have to be wary of whatever's going down here in some positions, although currently our queen being on c7 does a great job. Hopefully there is no way here of just positionally squeezing us if our opponent plays this. Most likely I think it would just, as mentioned, be an overextension. At least I'd hope so. And then we could maybe come and target the king. Importantly, if this bishop moves, this pawn hangs. Currently this pawn hangs, so it's getting kind of scary for our opponent here, I think. This should not be a move, I don't think. I don't think we would go for the check there, because this and this, and I don't think we win anything from it. But we could force this maybe, followed by this, if the king goes here. But going to f2 is just bizarre. There is no way our opponent plays it, so we shouldn't really give it too much thought. I don't expect this to maybe be a move here, because this here comes with an immediate threat of taking the rook as well. So our opponent would have to respond to our move here of going to h5 with the knight. I don't think this is a great move per se. It kind of opens up our opponent's bishop, but I think most likely there we would just take still, and let's say this is played. Maybe just take, and in this position we would even be winning a pawn, I think, or 2 pawns maybe, because of this pawn as well. So yeah, it looks quite promising. Although probably the position here is quite equal. I'm optimistic here because of our opponent's exposed king long term, but otherwise I don't think there is a massive difference in terms of the position here at all. This is played. Now do we go for this move, as I mentioned, trying to break this apart with some support, and the king opens up. As I mentioned, this might be a move, but then we come here. Another rook gets opened up, so it might be a bit scary. We'll have to see, but we've got a lot of pressure in this direction in general. so I'm not all that pessimistic. This looks good. I will be pushing this pawn, I think. Realizing there is maybe this move, but I don't see a good follow-up. It simply plants the knight and then would have to move the queen, but I was saying but there, but it might actually be a good idea there because our queen is forced to kind of give up this diagonal, which it really thrives on. But with this pawn here pushed, I think we might have the option of coming up to e6 with our bishop as well, which looks like a good developing square if we can't quite come all the way up. If takes, we will take with the knight to kind of force a trade here perhaps, break away apart a defender, and we might get some battery here towards the king with the bishop and the queen. We would like to get our rooks into the action soon. Don't quite know how we're going to do it. This a rook would have to move the bishop first, of course. I don't think this is a move. Of course it hits our queen there. We would have to move to defend this pawn, so most likely to this square, but we might be able to go here. Only thing is then the queen doesn't guard this knight along the diagonal. Doesn't have to be a bad thing though, because the pawn does the job for the time being. So this might be good, just trying to slide on over, although currently we can't go there because of a few pieces. The position is getting complicated. Our opponent here is starting to calculate, and the knight jumps in. But this was expected. Let's not spend all day long. We'll just be moving our queen over. And then see what our opponent does. The knight here doesn't have any good moves forwards. Not here, not here, not here, and not here. Importantly, the queen does a lot of the job here because of those two squares. So we'll have to be wary of the queen getting a bit overextended, perhaps. There is some tension here still. If this bishop moves, let's say this is played developing the bishop, just to an arbitrary square to be honest, then this comes with the threat of taking here afterwards. This b7 pawn defended by our queen, and the bishop as well. There might be some point here at which we can play this, but currently the bishop prevents us from doing so, I think. Would love to get this bishop away from g2, because then we'd have this, which seems quite crushing. I don't know who is attacking who, honestly. We've got some good setup here for a potential attack, but our opponent also seems to have a pretty decent active position going with some pieces, as well as some activity with the pawns, I guess. You don't usually speak of pawn activity, I guess, but the pawns are definitely serving some kind of a purpose, be it a good or a bad one. Don't think this is a move. Could be an interesting move though. And then if we take and our opponent takes, if we take and they take, I don't think that's ideal for us per se, but the king is a bit open there. We might be able to just force stuff off the board, but that's not necessarily what we want to do here. Our opponent is down to 8 minutes. Glad to see this made them stumble a bit and get a bit confused as to what to do in this position. If this knight moves, we might even have the option of jumping in here. currently we don't have any real good ways of getting or doing a whole lot if we do get there, but maybe that might change at some point. Let's say if the queen was on another square and we took this knight, for example, only way to recapture, I was going to say, is with this bishop, but currently not because of the rook, so maybe not. I wanted to get the bishop away and get h3, but that's not quite an option. It's a far shot, to say the least. I'm in a really unfamiliar territory here, though, I have to say. I'm confused because I've not quite seen similar structures at all. This is quite new to me, and our own structure here it's not something I'd usually start off playing with. Okay, so we get this, our opponent defends from this once this potentially opens up. Definitely a good idea. So do we just take? I just don't love how this knight here can join the action. Because there are 3 defenders, but that's because of this knight. So we've got those attackers. We might have this, though, which could be a good idea to play. Because we can get rid of this knight, which is quite a thorn in our side. Let's say we come back here, what happens if our opponent takes? Then I guess we take this. I think our opponent is first to take our knight there. And then maybe this. Or maybe not because of this. So we might have to take with the pawn there. Gets a bit complicated, but I think I would like to get rid of the knight. It's probably an improvement for us. So we'll just go ahead and do it. I don't expect this to be the move to play here. It could be an idea maybe. But it would kind of break apart our opponent's king defenses rather if, let's say, this is played and we take and they take, then this is not good defense for the king at all. Well, the knight could just take, and we would have to take with the queen, I think, and kind of figure out the following position there. Might not be a bad idea. This essentially forces our hand. We've got one move there, which leads me to say, let's just pre-move this, because it's a check even, so we don't have any alternatives for fancy moves. But most likely our opponent is not going to take us, I don't think. They might develop the dark squared bishop now, as the rook on b8, or b1 rather, is defending the pawn now. Could we see a queen move? I don't necessarily think so. I was looking at options of moving this knight here maybe in some way, but this isn't really a threat against the knight because, well, this. So we'll have to wait and see what our opponent does. It's quite unfamiliar here seeing our opponent playing this slowly, but it might give us a time advantage in the endgame here, which probably is going to be good for us if we can kind of utilize our time well in our game today. Which moves could our opponent be considering here? This does nothing. This, I really don't see the follow-up. We could even come here, and then what? The knight would just have to come back, and we would get a free move, I think, so probably not. there is still this tension to be thinking about. Importantly now, if our opponent takes, the knight here can't retake. But as I said here, most likely this would be how we played it. And we would get into this kind of a position and probably take like either with the bishop or the pawn there, most likely with the pawn I guess, because I think we want our bishop. 4 minutes for our opponent. We're at move 12 here, so this is even a slower opponent than I'm playing at times, which is a bit surprising, but definitely I do not blame them. This position here is really difficult, I'd say, to maneuver. A really funny move here would be this, but it's not played. Our opponent takes, so we'll just be taking. This is first. And then what is the follow-up move? And now this, and well, it's played, but is it good or bad? And for whom is it? This, and there is this. The pawn can't push because of the pin. This, there is still this. But let me have a quick look here. This, and there is this move. But then there might be this, and it might be difficult to evaluate, but I think it probably looks a bit better for us. At least I think so. It's intuition there, at least to a certain degree. So I will be taking with the bishop, so as not to block it in and render it useless. This. This. There will be a lot of captures most likely. No big surprise there. Now we can't come here at the end because the knight is gone, so there is no threat of taking this by pinning the rook. So we're back to equal material here. Only alternative here would have to maybe consider taking with a pawn, but I don't think we'll be doing so. I don't see a great argument, at least, for taking with the pawn. Well, we do get some central control though. But I don't think it's a problem either way. We'll be taking with the queen because this, and still this pawn can't push, so we have pretty decent control, I think, in terms of our pawns here. The queen comes up, which I did not consider. Is this a good move, or is it a bad move? This isn't really threatened because it's doubly defended. So now this is a move that kind of screams out to me. We target this, we hit with tempo, we connect our rooks, and we control all of the weak squares here in the position, defending this even. I don't think there is a more natural move than playing bishop to e6. Which is exactly why we'll be playing bishop to e6. Once and if this move is played, this is most likely still on the agenda. The pawn is pushed. Now there are dark squared weaknesses in this position. Although this could be played and our queen seems kind of semi-trapped there. Oh, it's a full-on queen trap. If this was played here, all of the squares are taken away along this diagonal. This is controlled by the bishop, and this is controlled by the pawn. That's honestly quite scary. Don't quite want to allow it. So what's our alternative here? maybe coming this way and targeting this pawn, which could get annoying trying to defend. But let's say this is played, and this is played. Is there this move? Honestly, that looks quite scary because there is almost a checkmate against us. And this move here kind of takes away the knight from our defense of the king. So we'll have to evaluate this quite carefully. If this is played, how do we respond? We've got 2 moves, I think, to figure it out here. Because I don't think we could have f5, but most likely not, I think, because then this opens up, which I think is bad for us. So I just want to find a way here of dealing with this then, followed by this. Oh, I'm blind. I'm really blind. But then what we have to calculate is this. Because that's kind of scary still, because now the queen can come down here. But then I think this followed by this move, but then this is checkmate on h8 instead. I don't quite love it. I'm not loving it. That's for sure. But just allowing this without getting something in advance, because we can move this and then our queen is trapped, so we have to move the queen either way here. Can go here maybe and lose a piece. Nope, not going to happen. Let's go here instead. We could have some kind of a position like this where we just pick up stuff if given enough moves, if the queen moves at least. This looks, this is played. I guess our hand is kind of forced here. Hopefully our opponent doesn't go for this, but if this is played we just go here, but this is what I'm scared about. I think this line is slightly forced. Maybe we might have to kind of bail out by playing f6, although I think it would lose material. Seems our opponent is spotting the idea here. The idea which I was really afraid of. So that's definitely scary. This is the only way to not immediately lose the knight, but then there is this. Are we getting checkmated here? The problem is we either got our queen trapped or got into this kind of an awkward position, which was difficult to spot from a distance. That's for sure. Let's say this is played. If our opponent takes, can we go here? This looks really bizarre though, but this might be the way. Hitting the queen, threatening some pieces. Yeah, but now I have to remember what I looked at. Was it this? Because I kind of forgot what I just looked at 10 seconds ago. I think it was this, right? And then if this is played, but we're just going to be losing all of our stuff around the king then. This suddenly turned really difficult. We can't take this. This and this. Is it possible to prevent the checkmate? I don't think it is. I think that's first mate in one because of h8 being a checkmate as well. So we're going to have to sack the knight here if we want to play the game. I guess f6 might have to be the move. Oh, I despise having to do this. It really sucks, but we can't really not, because otherwise we just immediately lose the entire game. We can't pick up any pieces, all the stuff is protected. This is currently hanging. Could we come up this way? Maybe? This might be some way of breaking free and maybe getting some activity. Okay, let's go for it. Then h takes g6 is maybe a move. We might have to take back there. Oh no, this is opening up now. But it's not a big problem, I don't think, because there is a pin here, so the bishop can't take. But this is getting scary, for sure. Both bishops here are kind of targeted by our queen. What a bizarre position, though. I have to say, this is not something we get in our average game. Would like to see something like this, and if the queen is forced away, we could have this. This rook has to take because the bishop is pinned. We could pick up this bishop and in the end, maybe. But well, our opponent takes here first, we'll have to take back. Now, what does our opponent play? This, I think, will be going here. For a second there, I thought the lights went out, but for some reason it seemed like it suddenly got a bit darker here. Not quite sure why. This, there might be this, looking to get this kind of an idea paired up with the bishop. And I might just be getting blind here because obviously this, and we take the queen rather, so maybe if this is played we go here, the queen might go to this square. Nope, our opponent opts to target this pawn instead, which is a pretty decent idea, I think. But can we push now? Oh, this might be a good idea. Oh, never mind, this is just a fork. Wow. I did not see this being a fork until now. Can we push this? Loses this though. So we might have to come up here, but we can't because of the bishop. But we cannot afford to lose this pawn with this bishop being here. So we might have to go to h7, give up this pawn. The bishop is hanging there. This pawn is not quite hanging, but it could be. Oh, this is looking really bad. This is one of those games that just happened to fall apart. But still we'll be trying our best here. I think our best is going to involve going to h7, as mentioned, so as not to lose this important pawn. This really sucks as well, though, because our bishop is hanging, this pawn is hanging, and stuff breaks apart. The queen gets in, but it's not as bad, I don't think, as losing this pawn here with this pressure here down the board. Oh, there is a checkmate here. This is just a next level. Oh no, it's not. We have this escape square. Well, our move here is forced. We'll just play it. Is this a move? Looking to come here. There is still stuff breaking apart our position like this. But let's say our opponent comes here looking to come. Oh no, this is played. Okay. But then I think we might be okay. This, our opponent might want to pick up this pawn. But that's not as bad as this could have been. Well, we've got one move here. Let's play it. Oh, now this comes with a check and we lose. Oh, oof. We're losing some stuff here, that's for sure. This and this falls apart. Maybe if this takes, we might be able to come up here. Might definitely be an option. We're in check once again. Let's take here. Or move and defend ourselves, I guess, is what I'd say. We might have this. This might be interesting. Teaming up like this. Definitely an idea, perhaps. Still waiting for our queen here to get hit by some piece. This can't be played though because of this, so maybe this rook, but I think our opponent wants the rook staring down here for the time being. Let's go to this square. Looks to generate an annoying threat at least. We might have had this even. I just want to add as much pressure as possible and make this really difficult for our opponent, because I think our piece positioning here might be quite ideal. At least for something. Just realized as I was saying this, the queen defends this bishop, so we're not really threatening any stuff here, but this is still an idea. And maybe we should have played this immediately here, but our time is getting a bit low, so I didn't quite consider the move. We might be winning a time here, to be honest, which is a bit anticlimactic, I think, if it were to happen. Our opponent here finds a good move. If we go here, there might be this even, or... Oh no, I see the idea. This, and there is this. And then this can be picked up. But then there is still a threat here, so I think that's looking quite good. Let's just make our opponent suffer as much as possible. Would be really nice. Is our best move going here? This might honestly be our best move here, because this is defended like this, and now we got 3 pieces attacking this bishop. This is a bizarre looking move. I was going to go here, but then this is annoying. Oh no! No, this just hangs the bishop. No. That's bad. That's really bad. Should have went here instead. What does our opponent play? Most likely they should be taking here. This is covered by the bishop, so those pieces here aren't doing a whole lot. Oh wow. We won on time in a position which we should have lost. Mate in 19. Honestly, I can't tell. This is not the way I expected to win today, but well, happens. Sometimes we lose games we deserve to win, and sometimes we win games we deserve to lose. That's chess, that's life. Thanks for the game. to our opponent. They played a well game, a really good game rather, and they did outplay us today, but we'll still be looking through this. Or rather, and because of it, I guess, to some degree, we will be looking through it and see why we lost. How could we have improved today? This is a really... We got outperformed by over 1000 ELO in game rating, which means our game today was... The gameplay was really subpar, at least according to the engine. 6 mistakes, 1 inaccuracy. Let's go on ahead here and have a look. This was all good. This was good. All good up to this point. Should have pushed 2 squares, which in hindsight I could see. All good here, and this was bad. Should have just played slowly. Should not have forced the issue, but our opponent played incorrectly. This was best, which is a difficult move to play, so I don't blame our opponent there. We pushed and allowed for this to be played apparently, which honestly I can't quite tell why it's so bad for us. I thought this just seems to win a pawn, but I guess our king safety might get compromised. But why can't we just maybe go to the side and play with the file, and our opponent's king is weak as well? Difficult to say. Should have taken here, I guess, or it seems. I just didn't like this being a move, but apparently this is all good. And then we would have played on from this position. But we got into this. Should have taken with a pawn. Consider the move, but I didn't really like what happened to our bishop there. Should have taken with the pawn once again. I guess the computer doesn't quite love the pawn on d6 as much as the one on e5. This was just a bad move. Should have kind of avoided this kind of queen trap by moving the bishop back, which is kind of annoying, to be honest, because again, having the bishop here seemed to be a really good square for it. But there was this tactic, because let's say we move this rook. Oh, did I miss something here? Isn't this just a trap? Oh no, we've got this square. Okay, missed it. If I'd seen that, might have played a bit different, because I felt a bit pressured to play an immediate powerful move there, or at least immediately do something, because I thought this would have been a trap. Got a bit blindsided. This was played and found. Important note here, this was apparently best, but I still thought our position seemed to fall apart here. So I didn't really consider it seriously. This, and I would have went here, but, or well, could have gone there and lost the game. Maybe not. Got into this position, and I don't think we ever actually had any chance here of playing the game from this point. And well, that's wrong. I'm saying incorrectly. I'm kind of speaking incorrectly here. That's not quite I meant. That's not quite what I meant. I was going to say we never really had a good option here of getting a computer advantage, but we did get some chances of counterplay, which I think is what kind of determined this game in the end, because our opponent's time ran out as they did not quite see what to play here under this pressure. Should have taken this, I think. And at this point, there is nothing for us to do. We are just going to fall apart. There is this, there's this, this. There is no way to hold this game, but it was not played. Our opponent lost in time here. For some reason it says in this position now, but that's not what was on the board. Well, anyways, we won our game today. Not quite by our own doing, or well, it is by our own doing to some degree, because we forced our position, or our opponent, to get into an uncomfortable position and spend time, but we didn't win on the board today. Well, so this was a well-played game by Pedro Wolf from France, so thanks a lot to them for the game. Thanks for watching to the end of the video, guys. Hope you have a fantastic rest of your days, and I hope to see you all tomorrow. Bye bye.